something a little bit special for everybody. Michigan fans, you're going to be excited about the season, that much more so. Not that I think that a lot of you are super excited about the season as we're ready to kick off, at least not compared to normal years. But nonetheless, we have a special guest who will be joining us with a brand new show. You just saw the intro. It's called X's and O's. Ladies and gentlemen, I present former Michigan tight end, Mackey Award winner, Jake Butt. Jake, thank you for joining. Super excited to have you, man.
Hey, thanks. It's good to be back. Good to be back, to be back involved with the program. It's been a long time that I've been away from it, obviously, in the NFL, but it feels like home. So with the season around the corner, I'm excited to get talking about it. And of course, excited to watch them kick off and get a win next week.
And that's, I'm excited too. And I think one of the weird things is it doesn't feel like the fan excitement is matching with the normal hype. I mean, when you were in town and when you were playing, wearing the winged helmet, I feel like everyone was at a fever pitch the week before the season. Right now, based off of what happened in 2020, people are not nearly as excited. A lot of people, I feel anytime we post season preview stuff, you get a lot of the reaction of, we'll believe it when we see it, or they feel like they're going to be let down. Jake, you've been in that locker room before. You've been on the bad side of things. You've been on the good side of things. You've been in some seasons that were tough. You've had years like 2016, which obviously started out excellent. You can't convince me you weren't one of the best teams in the country. Nonetheless, what's it like? Because we keep on hearing about the culture change, that type of thing, that the locker room has really kind of come together. How true do you feel like that really can be in a year-over-year type basis?
Yeah, I mean, it's, from the fans' perspective, I get it. It's time for them to say, hey, we need you guys to produce. It's kind of similar where you go through spring ball every year, you go through camp every single year, and of course, everyone wants to talk about all the great things that are going on. And everybody gets excited and everybody believes, hey, you're a Big Ten champion when you're going through spring ball. You're going to win a bunch of games when you're going through camp. But you never really know till you take the field. You never really know till you get tested, till that you get punched in the mouth the first time and you figure out what you really respond or how you'll really respond. I've been hearing a lot of great things out of camp, but it's really going to come down to, how do they, come out next week? Are they going to go out and put out a dominant performance and really set the tone for the rest of the season?
Now, that's one of the things is what we need to see, especially both sides of the ball. You've got an offense that returns a lot of guys, especially from the end of the year when Cade McNamara started to finally take the mantle. We don't really know much about what the defense. We just know it's going to look a lot like the Baltimore Ravens defense with Mike Macdonald. When you have at least a warm-up game, essentially, and I know that's probably not how it's thought inside the building, but when you are playing a directional school, it's the week before actually facing the big fish in Washington. How much can you really learn in a game like that going up against, I remember 2016, you guys opened up against Hawaii. I consider that to be a similar level of competition. How much can you learn in a game like that?
Well, frankly, with the state of the program right now, there isn't a warm-up game anymore. This needs to be a statement game. So when you have an opportunity to play a school like that, and I know we were playing Hawaii, we could taste blood in our mouths. Like, we wanted to go out there and absolutely dominate Hawaii. And of course, that's what we did. And it kind of starts to become a self-fulfilling prophecy at that point is, okay, all those things that we thought about ourselves back in spring, back in camp, okay, it's on the table. We just went out there and put out a great performance. Maybe we are as good as we thought we were. Let's go carry that into the next week. So, of course, the first game of the season after a long camp, hopefully the guys are itching to play, get out there and make a big statement. If they go out there and put on a dominant win, I think that's just going to breed confidence within the building. And obviously that's going to carry throughout the season.
And that's what I'm really interested to see. And I think it's all going to hinge, and that goes just beyond this game, goes really for the entire season. It's going to hinge a lot on what Michigan gets from the quarterback position. Cade McNamara is the starter. He started one total game a year ago, but obviously he looked like the real deal in what we saw from him. I think the other thing that people are speaking about when it comes to McNamara is his leadership. I went back pretty far and was trying to think about Michigan and a quarterback, and the quarterback being that team leader type? Because there have been a lot of good quarterbacks that have come through here, even in the Jim Harbaugh era, but don't really think about a lot of those guys as leaders. How important do you think it is for the state of the offense to have that type of guy who really gets the entire offense coalescing around him?
Absolutely. It's going to be one of the most important things. I think that's what really separates the good teams from the great teams. You need your quarterback to not only be a leader for your offense, but for a tone setter for the entire program. When a quarterback walks into the huddle, does he command respect from his teammates? Does he breed hope into his offensive line? Do they want to go out there and dominate and protect for him? Do the receivers know, hey, if I run my route right and I'm wide open, the ball's going to come my way and we're going to go score points? And I completely agree. I think Cade, really the leadership aspect is what most excites me. And in a sense, he kind of reminds me of a Jake Rudock where, I don't think Jake Rudock got talked enough about his leadership, but sometimes leadership isn't about being the rah-rah guy or the guy that's all over social media and making big headlines. Sometimes being a leader is just being even keel. Can you show up and be consistent every single day in practice, in meetings? Are you the same guy walking around on campus where guys know what they're going to get from you? That consistency is extremely important. And I feel like that's what you're going to get with Cade as well, is he's just going to show up and do his job on a week in, week out basis. And, hopefully, at the University of Michigan, you hope to have a bunch of great players around him where it's a little team effort where as long as your quarterback's showing up and doing his job, the defense should be lights out. And we should win a lot of football games because everybody's just doing their job at a minimum.
And I'm really excited to see what they're able to do in that regard, and just being able to have that idea of guys that are hyped up, playing for each other. And it kind of feels like that's what Cade kind of brings to the table is that type of mentality. Jake, we have to kind of look backward in order to look forward sometimes. And I know that it's probably not the most fun thing to rehash, but kind of going back either side of the ball off. I mean, obviously you know the offensive side of the ball, having played that position for so long. But when you look at both sides, what do you feel Michigan was missing last year? Why did it go so poorly?
What I didn't see is I didn't see an identity. I didn't know what to expect from the program on a week in, week out basis. There was times you're like, wow, this team's special. Early in the season, I think it was a Minnesota game, right? When you're like that this team looks like it could do something really, really special. And then you have games like Indiana and Michigan State where you're just like, it almost felt like, guys didn't really want to be out there. Like they were kind of going through the motions. I didn't see like a burning passion to be on the field, a burning passion and desire to say, I'm going to win at all costs. Like I'm going to beat the guy across from me, no matter what it takes. And again, there's a lot of momentum that goes into the sport of football within the game, but within the season too. So, the way you think about yourself starts to become a self-fulfilling prophecy where I know I can relate it back to, my earlier years in the program when we were under Coach Hoke, where we'd get down in games and guys would be on the sideline arguing and guys would be on the sideline like, well, here we go again. And I know everyone in the stadium felt that same energy where it's like you have a couple mistakes and it's like, here we are again. But then, my junior and senior year when Coach Harbaugh first came in there, it didn't matter, what the score was. We always believed we were going to win. It didn't matter who we played. We always took the field expecting to win and really expecting to be dominant. We fully believed in ourselves and in the guys around us. So that identity is extremely important because, each week your opponent's turning on your film too. And they're going to either see blood in the water or they're going to say, okay, like these guys are rolling right now. We better get ready. And, I was thinking about this a little bit too, is, a program like the University of Michigan, we hold ourselves to a high standard and rightfully so because it's such a historic program. But everyone in the Big Ten and really in the entire country sees the standard we hold ourselves to as well. And they want a piece of us, everyone is going to give us their best shot on a week in, week out basis. Everyone's looking to come in and try to punch us and see if they can get a little piece of us too. So we have to know that and anticipate it. And if we think about ourselves as this historically great program, then we have to prepare like it. We have to practice like it. And absolutely, when we take the field on Saturdays, we have to play like it.
And you mentioned something that I think is really interesting. You mentioned that belief when Jim Harbaugh became your coach that you were going to dominate. Right now, the fan base is very torn as far as how his job performance, whether he's the right guy to lead Michigan. You played under Jim Harbaugh. Obviously, you felt, at least while you were there, that he was the right guy to get things done. I think it's an interesting dynamic that you have all these players that maybe weren't kind of in that same mode as you had been when you were playing in Ann Arbor, that they weren't as hyped up. They didn't feel like they were going to be dominant. Same coach, lots of different assistants now, especially on the defensive side of the ball. How much do you feel like that maybe that switch can be flipped back on for those players that are still in Schembechler Hall?
Now, I know that the head coach is the most important thing. He's the ringleader, and everybody kind of falls in line based on, how he carries himself and the tone he sets throughout the program. But we really can't discredit the coordinators, both the offensive and defensive coordinator. We can't discredit the position coaches, because most of your time is actually spent in those split rooms. You have a brief team meeting, and then you're breaking out into offensive and defensive meetings. You have a brief OD meeting, and then you're breaking out into your individual meetings. So I think getting a new defensive coordinator in there, and I went to practice and I saw the way guys are flying around. It does feel like there's some confidence going on within the program. The offense and defense were clashing and competing. There was great energy at practice. And it kind of reminded me a little bit of, my later years when we did see some success. So I think getting a new, voice in there on defense, a little bit more unpredictable, a little bit more scheme oriented rather than like, we're just going to do it our way and just try to beat you. That's going to help us, especially, as we play the better teams throughout the season.
And I'm really hopeful that we do see things kind of get back to where what we had seen before under Jim Harbaugh. But with those assistant coaches, how excited were you to see Jay move back from the running backs back to tight ends, considering that's the guy that you were with when you won a Mackey Award?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was, just being back at practice, it was great to see Coach Jay. I think he's like one of the last guys of the assistants still there that I recognize from my time there.
I think he's the last one, I think, as far as I can't recall anyone else that's around that was an original player.
Yeah, I think he might be the last man standing, him and Jim Harbaugh. So it was great to see him. And the thing I really like about Coach Jay Harbaugh is he's just committed to the process. Is he's not worried about the end result. It's more so about the process. I know Jay's always looking for a way to gain an edge and to push his players and help them out. Him and I have been texting a little bit about the tight end group and just coaching overall. And that's been really, really awesome. So I'm pumped for Jay, and I'm pumped for the tight end room too. I know under Coach Harbaugh, tight end is a really, really important position. So I'm excited to see those guys go out there and fly around, have some fun, and make plays.
Well, we won't keep you too long since this is our preview show. In the following weeks, we'll be more breaking things down. Although we can obviously break that, Jake, you will be joining us on the Locked On Wolverines podcast for our Friday preview show as well. So excited for kind of a holistic version of Jake Butt getting to be able to pick your brain a little bit about what you see out there, what you think is going to happen. With that in mind, we won't go full preview mode here. We'll save that for the podcast on Friday. But what's your general feeling about what we're going to see this season? How much do you think that Michigan is going to be able to rebound, get back? And when I say rebound, it doesn't mean necessarily winning 10 games, but at least get to that 8-game threshold, something like that. At what point do you think that, how realistic do you think that'll be for this year's team?
Yeah, well, I'm glad you're not putting too much pressure on me, because I think really this first week is going to be extremely important for us. Because again, I'm at practice, I see the competition, I see the energy, and, I feel good about it, but, kind of the same as the fans are feeling is, I want to see it come to fruition on Saturdays, and I want to see them go out and really dominate from the first whistle to the last. I want to see guys flying around on special teams. I want to see a dominant defensive performance. Hopefully a shutout. A shutout would be great. That's the Michigan defense that I've come to know and love. And I'm excited to see the offense roll around too and fly around. So everything seems to be trending in the right direction, but I think we're going to find out a lot come week one. What we can expect throughout the rest of the season.
Well, awesome, Jake. I look forward to speaking with you again when we get not only when we preview this game that much more, but obviously when we get to break it down next week, that's going to be a lot more exciting because we'll actually have football under our belts. I can't believe it's almost here.
Finally. Looking forward to it, Isaiah.
Awesome. Well, again, this is X's and O's. We'll be back next week. Tune in, WolverinesWire.usatoday.com.